Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show, where we talk about all components of business and how to utilize them for exponential growth. My name is Athin Cassiotis. I'm a serial entrepreneur, international speaker, results strategist, business coach, mentor, and consultant. Today, I have an awesome guest. He's an entrepreneur, business profit coach, leadership coach, high performance coach, and speaker. He has over 17 years experience in business and has extensive experience with auditing, risk management, and internal processes. He helps small business owners increase profit by 20% in 6 months. Welcome, Stephen Su, and thank you for being on my show.
Hey, Ethan, so good to be on your show, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, mate. It's going to be amazing for everyone watching and listening today. So you're a very successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself by telling us about you and your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before I share who I am and my journey, can I just say that, hey, Ethan, so thank you so much for rescheduling this call, right? I know that we are meant to have this conversation Thursday last week, and I had to move it out because of something that came in and I couldn't get out of. So really appreciate your time and your flexibility as well. So yeah, a bit about myself and my journey. So Lydia and myself got married at the age of 27, right? And we came back to Australia back in 2007, right? That's 15 years ago. Really, really cool, quick, and awesome 15 years in Australia. So look, growing up, I grew up in Malaysia, right? In a typical Asian family, right? When you're in a typical Asian family, you know, you grow up either to become a accountant, right? Engineer or a doctor, right? It's either you get one of these three, otherwise you're going to get caned. So I turned out to be an accountant, right? And that if you're watching this, you know that I'm kidding, right? Because if you look at my my studies at school, right, the best subject in my school is actually accounting. So I actually chose to be, you know, to go down the path of accounting. So it wasn't that family pressure or culture thing, yeah. So yeah. Got my degrees in accounting, you know, got my master's in accounting as well, and being a certified accountant, and then, you know, gone to join corporate, you know, chartered world and also the corporate world, and spent a number of years there and absolutely loved it, right? And had many successes. So yeah, so look, you know, get to travel to the front on the plane. Traveling overseas, made some really cool stuff and make some really cool improvements and changes in the business as well. Yeah, so, and then that was about, you know, 14, 15, 16 years of corporate life. And yeah, and then start looking back, you know what, there's actually more to what I can offer, right? I was doing really well in my career, but there was a part of me that was missing, right? And that was not being really free, and I was not being fulfilled, right? And I took a step back and start reflecting, okay, what can I do differently, right? And then when I look back at my journey in the corporate world, there are things, you know what, look, when we look back at our journey, right, even though in business or in career, we look back, there are elements that you love doing, right? There are elements that you wouldn't want to be doing anymore, yeah? And there's always things that fall in between there. And what's keep me up at night for the good reason, and what gets me up in the morning as well, is the mentoring and coaching that I've been doing consistently, you know, while I was in corporate. And that's a calling, right, for me to be who I am today as a coach, right, and helping businesses, right. So look, when I look at my, you know, 16, 17 years of experience, right, in the corporate world, right. Even though there's elements that I didn't enjoy, but if I look at all my journey there, what I do have is that end-to-end view of, you know, how a business is being run, right? And always, you know, and have the clarity and visibility of the mistakes that businesses make, right? And what can they do differently? And having the end-to-end view as well gives you a great lens about, okay, what needs to happen there when you make these changes, what's the downstream impact, right? And when you make that changes, what's the upstream impact, right? Because the thing is, a lot of people talk about downstream impact, but not thinking about, okay, what's the upstream impact? Because it's a, you know, there is a correlation between the upstream and downstream impact. So having that view, it's really cool. And and that's where, I have that intel insight and the value that I can provide to the business. So yeah, and really, really cool. And look, I guess that's my calling, right? To help business out, because if you look at these days, businesses are suffering, right? Because of COVID and pre-COVID and post-COVID as well. Okay, what changes going to be, what's the impact, and having that end-to-end lens in their processes, to actually have a strong foundation internally so they can grow their business more, right? So to avoid those common mistakes that I've seen, right, year in, year out, right, businesses are making, and no one is telling them that. And that's, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, mate. Thank you for that awesome story, and great to hear, the different challenges we all get through life and your specific ones and where it's taken you today, which is awesome. And I agree. I think, whatever, path we went down, trained us and made us more resilient and got us to where we are today. So well done with that. And let's start off where you started off, working in audit at Deloitte, right? Which is a massive company, right? I know in Australia as well as globally. And you also continued at other big companies, right? Initially. So initially, what key areas did you focus on when you were completing your audits?
Yeah, it's too many areas. One is the financial audit, right? Looking at all the numbers and whether the numbers make sense and does it tie in, and all the good stuff about financial audit, right? And making sure that your financials are sound, right? And your analysis, your projected cash flows, and your what have you spent the last 12 months, 6 months, and 3 months, right? And where is it going to take you forward as well, right? To provide that that expertise, right? To provide that lens, okay, where things are going, right, from a historical perspective, and also looking at the processes as well. In terms of control, do you have gaps in your processes, right? That you are not aware of, right? And what are those gaps doing to your business, which is really important, right? And how is it impacting your profits, your revenue, right? Your staff turnover, for example, right? Your products, productivity, everything else, right? Internally in your processes. So by looking at that, then how can you then translate that into your numbers that you're looking at month in, month out, week in, week out, right? Year in, year out. And then you can use the numbers, improve numbers, right? To, to your investors, to, your banks, if you want to get loans, right? And everyone else that would need to look at the numbers so that you can get, if you want to go listing as well, you can use the numbers. So it's all having that downstream impact, right? But you need to fix on the upstream side of it to making sure that you have got a sound foundation, internal processes, and then translate that into a numbers perspective.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Love that. Yeah, definitely numbers. What gets measured gets managed, as they say, with the numbers, and you definitely have a lot of experience there. And then, obviously with internal processes, right? That's really massive. And, let's initially talk about risk management now. So, it's very important for businesses. There's a lot of potential risk out there, and we want to gain as much protection as possible for us. So initially, because risk management, people are like, oh, what does that mean? Yeah, risks, risk management. How do you define risk management? Do you want to go a little bit more into that?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, Athin. In a simple way, I can explain this is risk. Another way of looking at risk is danger, right? And how do you manage your danger? How do you manage your risk in your business? Yeah. Now, I'm sure your listeners would have they would have either bought a car or thinking of buying a car, right? And when you go and get a car, or you have bought a car, car always entice you to getting their car, right? If you want to buy Lexus or Mercedes or Beamers or whatever car that you want to buy, they always entice you in terms of the safety features, right? And that safety features are to reduce the danger by driving the car and feel safe, right? Having all the alarm bells when you pass that the speed zone, right? If you go above a 60, you let you know that you have gone above a 60, reduce your speed, right? That's reducing the risk for you to get into danger by going above the speed zone, right? From getting fined. You get danger zone, danger management is all over the place, right? When you go out and you drive too fast and then you get caught by police, right? And the police give you a ticket, right? And the intention is not to actually fine you, but the intention is actually to reduce your danger to yourself and others around you by driving too fast, right? And that's a penalty so that you feel it, right? By giving a ticket. So that's danger, right? Danger management, basically danger management in your business.
Yeah, love that, mate. I've never thought about it like that before. It makes so much sense, right? Of, correlating those two words, and you really need to think about it in that bigger sense. So if we go a little bit deeper now, what like top risk management or danger management strategies can we implement to reduce the risk in our business?
Yep. First of all, we need to understand what sort of dangers, what sort of risk are in the business, right? Having the clarity, what sort of risk that you have in the business, then we can develop the strategies to overcome them, right? If your business is not online, there's no point working on the online risk side of it, right? Getting data security breach, for example, right? Losing your customers' details online because you're not online. So first of all, need to understand where, what sort of risks are present in your business, and then assess where the risk is. Look, can I give you a quick example, right? And your listeners and your viewers as well can really do this at this moment in time, right? So if you can grab a piece of paper and draw into 3 columns, right? So the first column, you can put in there what sort of risk that you think you are facing in your business, right? And the second column there, you basically rate it from 0 to 10. Right, 0 means that there's no risk, right? 10 means that it's like absolute risk, right? And you have a gut feel like, yeah, is it going to be 2 for this risk? Let's say for, client retention risk, for example, right? If you feel like, what, my client retention risk is at a 2 out of 10, boom, cool, right? And then the third column, right, is that you have a column of, okay, what are you going to do about those risks? Are you going to manage it? Or are you going to mitigate that? When I say mitigate, means reduce the risk, right? Now, if you got a client retention risk of 2 out of 10, that's cool, right? So what are you doing to manage that risk at a 2 out of 10? Not getting increased to 3 or 4 or 5, but to manage it at a 2. Or if you want, you can reduce it down to 1, right? And if you have another risk, say, for example, if you have a physical shop, right, and you are having the risk of theft, of someone coming in and steal some of your products, right? And you think that, what, there's going to be a 50% chance that, people are going to come in and steal some of my stuff away, right, without paying. So you rate it at a 5 out of 10. And then from there, you identify, okay, what can you do to manage it or potentially to mitigate it, right? And you might want to put in some more CCTVs, on high product item, right, high value item as well, or how do you secure those pieces of work so you reduce the risk, from a 5 out of 10 to a 3 or 4 or even 2 out of 10, right? Now, when you have a low risk, what it also means is that you have more capacity, right, to take on more risk. Yeah, because you have more capacity to take on more risk, so that allows you to grow, right? Because we know this, right? When the more risk you take, the more benefits that you get. Yeah. So coming back to the first point, if you have a client retention risk of 2 out of 10, cool. That's amazing. Now, what will be greater is that what can you do to actually increase the risk, calculate the risk, right? So, so that you can start growing your business further, right? And if you want to stay at 2 out of 10, that's absolutely fine, right? But that also limits your potential growth from that sense, because you're not taking more risk to grow. When I say taking more risk, it's taking more calculated risk.
Yeah. Awesome, mate. Really awesome there. I love the process there and how to think about it a little bit differently. And yeah, there's the saying, more risk, more reward a lot of the time. But at the same time, when you take that risk, how can you, like you said, how can you mitigate it? How can you protect yourself so that you can get more of the upside with less of the downside, basically, right? So love that. Really awesome process there, mate. Really cool. So let's talk a bit more. You mentioned before about internal processes, right? They're extremely important, consistency, high quality, these things like that, right? And you went through that. So maybe initially, do you want to just, what are some of the key internal processes we should be implementing? Because I think a lot of people go like, yeah, I've got maybe a few process documents or something like that, but they don't really understand that it can be quite in depth, right? On how internal processes can be. If you're, especially, you know, when you've got an auditing background, you look at everything, right? So your lens, your awareness of internal processes is a lot more than most people. So do you want to maybe share some of the key internal processes that we should have implemented or implementing in our business?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, internal processes are very specific to each business, right? If I leave it up to a high level, I guess your internal processes in terms of they will be applied to any business that you have, that your audience have, will be number one, how's your training on your staff members, right? Because your staff members are your part of your internal processes, right? Because they're actually the one doing the work with you and for you, right? How often are they getting trained, right? And also allowing them to having that confidence, right, to help you grow your business, right? And when there's challenges in place, are they equipped enough to resolve that without having to, you know, give you a call every single time and take time away from you as a business owner, right? So you want to spend your time on the business, not in the business, right? How can you delegate that? So you want to have an internal process in terms of how often do you train your staff, right? And how well is the training? Yeah. Right. That's number one, right? Number two will be the processes in terms of documentation, right? And that's really important. I know it's very tedious to actually download everything in here into a piece of paper, but it's the benefits are absolutely amazing. And the reason why I'm saying is that when you have things documented, right, clearly articulated for your team members, right? So it reduces the risk of interpretation, right? Because everyone interprets certain things differently. And when you interpret things differently, will have a downstream impact on what that could lead to, right? When you mitigate and manage that, you know, as much as possible, right? So that will reduce that risk of errors, risk of loss of revenue, for example, but, you know, perhaps. So you want to have internal processes in terms of, number one, things document, the key processes documented, and then have a routine, you know, get reviewed once every 6 months or once every year, because things, you know, the business changes so quickly, right? The product that you have 6 months ago might not be relevant 6 months later, right? And then the processes there, they're specific for that product is no longer relevant. You want to change the processes, right? And what's the expected steps, right, to capture those businesses in your systems internally, right? And also being really clear in terms of what's your response rate, for example, right? If a customer comes in, have a questions, how often, how quick, right, that the team need to respond back, right? And that's clearly articulated, and nothing more than 48 hours or nothing more than 24 hours, right? So that's really clear, right? Irrespective of what you know the situation is, right? If a complex matter, right? Well, okay, what's the next step? If it's a less complex matter, okay, what's the steps that you need to follow, right? Not to a point where it takes away you know, you also want to have the processes in place so that they able to, you know, showcase their talent, not to the point where, you know what, it's a button pusher, not as a rigid, but you're also going to give them the guidance and operate within that frame so that, you know, you can help you to grow your business.
Yeah. Awesome, mate. Really awesome points there. Loved all of that with all those processes, and yeah, really important. And, you know, one thing that I've learned, and I think a lot of people, you'll probably resonate with this as well, is people think like you hire someone and you're like, hey, yeah, can you just like upload this thing and do it for me? And then like they get it back and it's like not the way that they wanted it to be done. It's like, well, you didn't, you know, go through it with them the particular way that you wanted to do it, and probably set up the documentation the way you want to set it up. And, you know, you mentioned that at the start where, you know, every, you know, business is different, but you chunked up at a higher level, which is awesome for us that it's relevant for everyone. But it's like, go through it with them first, tell them exactly the way you want to do it, because that's the way that you get it done, right? Otherwise you're going to get a lot of different results, right, in those areas.
Absolutely. And having the open door policy with you, and that's amazing, right? If look, they want to feel supported along the way as well, right? If you have all the processes there and say, yep, don't bother me, I'm off limit, it's not going to work, right? And the processes in place is to help them. If they need support, provide the support, and that would take your whole business to a whole new level and build the trust, rapport, and they'll do, much more for you and for your business as well.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Love that. And let's maybe delve a little bit deeper on this one, because having great motivated team members makes a big difference, right, in our business. And you've touched on a few topics here. So, do you want to maybe delve a little bit deeper on, what types of people solutions, we can implement to improve, our performance, their performance and business growth at the same time?
Can you repeat again? Sorry.
Yeah. So we've got to, we want to get motivated people, right, into our teams. It makes a big difference. So what types of solutions can we do with our people, with our team? What things can we implement? You touched on a couple of them there, a little bit more about to improve their performance and business growth at the same time.
Absolutely. Look, it's number one, you need to hire the right people for your team, right? And it goes without saying, right? If you don't hire the right people, if you hire an accountant doing a sales job, right, they can do a really good sales job, but it's not going to take it to the next level, right? You need to hire the salesperson doing a sales job and accountant to do an accounting job, right? And that's where, it makes it easier for them, and then, helps you to grow your business, right? Second thing is, the way you communicate with your team members. It's really, really important. Yeah. Now, everyone communicates differently, right? For you as a leader and for your team, right? And when you communicate to your team members, right, how are you communicating that information? Are you communicating that to the level that they understand and appreciate, right? Because look, some business owners, they're very quick, punchy, right? And a lot of the team members, either they are quick and punchy in the same level as you, or they would love to things a little bit more slower, right? So when you're fast and punchy and your team member is absorbing that and getting the information like slow, take more time and digest, right? It's going to create mismatch, right? And misinformation is going to happen. And there's, and the downstream impact of that is that you're going to have rework, right? And that's where you spend more time doing the same amount of work, right? And that's to avoid that. Really appreciate, what your audience level of communication is and how you can communicate that to their level. And at the same time as well, your team members need to appreciate your level of communication, right? So they can then have the awareness and lift up their level of communication to meet yours as well. Look, I really believe this, that you're not working for, your team is working for you as much as you working for your team members, right? It's not about you going all the way down to their level, and then it's not about them coming all the way up to your level. It's about meeting in the middle and understanding, right? And where the common grounds are, right? And communicate that, right? And it's always good to track, the performance, and measure that on a timely basis, right? Because what happens is that, and I've seen this a lot with business owners as well, that when they pass on the task to the team members, right? They say like, what, that's cool, you handle it. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Right? What you are really doing is that you are delegating the responsibilities, which is good, which is amazing, right? And you want to do that, but you are not delegating the accountability. Because the accountability still lies with you as a business owner, right? You need to be accountable of the performance of the result and managing that and monitor that, right, on a whatever timeline that you want to monitor, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, whatever it is that fits your business, right? You need to still monitor that and make sure that you are still getting the right result that you want.
Yeah, awesome.
Have I answered your question?
Yeah, definitely. That was awesome. I love that different orientation, and it's so true, right? Because I know that I'm learning a lot about NLP, and I know you know NLP as well, is that everyone has a different model of the world, right? So when you understand that, and this is why learning NLP or other different types of coaching models or something, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to become a coach. But what it does is it allows you to effectively understand yourself and effectively communicate with people around you, whether it's family, friends, team, right? And everything like that. And it really helps us to connect on that deeper level, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So going back to business, you mentioned at the start about, you see some key mistakes and things that you're seeing a lot of business owners making. So it's, hurting profit growth. So do you want to maybe touch on one or multiple of those that, that can really help us to bring that to our awareness?
Absolutely. The first thing is, not putting more trust on your team, right? And it's easier for me to do the work myself. I'll just get it done. Just get it done, right? And not letting go of that task, right? And what it does is it actually eats up, takes up the time and takes time away from them to focus on their business, right? They're now focusing in the business, right? Not a lot of small business owners, especially, are good in letting go, right? So they need to let go. Look, we had a saying, right? To grow, you need to let go. And that's so true, right? Because if you're not letting go, then, we all have 24 hours a day. We don't have any more, right? How we spend the 24 hours in a day, it's really critical, right? Are we doing the tasks that, it's better for my team to actually do it? Yes, they might make some mistakes. That's part of coaching, mentoring, and leadership, right? You want to encourage them, right? Otherwise, how are they going to learn, right? How is that going to motivate them to grow as an employee, right? So you need to let go. So to grow, you need to delegate a lot of your tasks as well, right? Have more trust on your team. If you're not having the people that you can delegate to, that rings an alarm bell that you don't have the right people in your business, right? Start looking back at, what's my hiring process? What's my onboarding process? Why am I not getting the right people along the way? Or what has changed while that person has in my business, right? So there's a few factors that it might be something happened while working in your business, or the onboarding process, you haven't got the right people, right? And a lot of small business owners as well having that fear to take risk. They see risk like, oh, hang on, no, risk is bad thing, right? Just focusing on revenue, just focusing on marketing, right? Just focusing on my margins. Yeah, that's cool. But if you want to grow, take more risk, right? Not any other risk that you're not willing to take, but take calculated risk, right? And that will bring your business forward. And then, yeah. So look, absolutely, I cannot stress it enough. Let go, delegate more. Look at who your top team members that can help you to grow, and then what can they do to what their support team as well, right? If you look at the pyramid, yeah, and also take more risk in the business.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Love that. Really powerful stuff there. So, we talked a bit about coaching, mentoring just then, and I'd love to hear about it from your perspective of how important coaching, mentoring is in business, and then what has it helped you to achieve as well?
Oh, I'll tell you what, coaching, mentoring is so important, right? Not because I'm a coach, right? And I really believe, in terms of, the benefits is absolutely amazing. And I've been doing that for the last 15, 16, 17 years, right? And the reason why, because it unravels the blind spots for you, right? Things that you are not seeing, and things that you didn't know actually exist, right? And it doesn't bring it to your your awareness, right? It does, and look, coaching, mentoring, it creates the awakening for you, right? So that you can have, better actions to put in place, better strategies, right, to move your business forward, right? And having a coach like myself and like you as well, Athin, now we have a wide variety of clients, right? And having that wide knowledge and exposure helps the business that you're helping in, right? Because you have the comparison in terms of, okay, what other businesses are doing, what other businesses in another industry are doing, what's the best practice that you can implement into this business to grow, right? So it's all about improving and keep improving, and having that lens and accessibility of what everyone else is doing, okay, and how we use that in that business, in this business, and in that business.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Love that. Really powerful. Definitely, completely agree. And We've covered a lot today, and I guess finally, I always like to ask this where possible is, what one key piece of advice would you give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
One key piece of advice is upgrade your identity. Upgrade your identity, because your business is a direct reflection of you, right? And your business cannot outgrow you, right? Where you are in your business is a direct reflection of where you are in your in your mindset, right? If your business is not growing, it's because you have your limitations that you haven't resolved and worked through yet, right? When you work through and increase your identity, now you might say, hey, Stephen, hey, Athin, what's identity? Identity is who you are. That's it, who you are, right? Once you increase your identity, then your business start to grow, right? Who you are as a leader, then your team see you as a different leader, a better leader, right? They will do more for you, right? And who do you come across when you do interviews, right? You get to pick the best of the best, right? And yeah, absolutely. Increase identity, then your business will grow.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Love it. Amazing point there. Completely agree. So yeah, we connected through our networks where I learned about your awesome journey from having over 17 years experience in business and working at many large, well-known companies to now being a business profit coach and speaker. You focus on helping your clients to increase profit, which is always needed in business. You're an awesome guy, and I'm sure you continue to help businesses to grow. I'm very grateful that we connected. I look forward to working with you in the future. So, Stephen, how can people find you, get in contact with you?
Yeah, look, the best way is on social media, on LinkedIn especially. Look me up on Stephen Su Profit Coach, even on Facebook as well. Or you can jump on my website at stephensucoaching.com and you will get the information there.
Awesome, mate. Yeah, definitely check out Stephen, guys. He's an amazing guy. So much breadth of knowledge there, excuse me, in all these different areas. So really awesome. So thank you, everyone, for watching, listening to this show where we talk about everything on business growth. Please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube as Athin Cassiotis, or visit my website, athincassiotis.com. I completely agree with you, or do I? The only way you'll know is if you tune in next time. So until next time, remember that our business grows when we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So remember to design your growth and results.